All right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Eric, and you're watching Sideboard MTG here on YouTube Gaming. Today, we're going to be doing a Rivals of Ixalan set review of the white cards, and later throughout the week, we're going to be coming out with all the other colors, including multicolor and colorless. So, if you like the show, and if you're new, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit that notification button so you'll know when the rest of the colors are released. And we've got 30 cards to go through here, so we're just going to jump straight into it with our first card being Tulpa, Primal Dawn. Now I know I'm going to butcher some of these names, but I'm going to try to just go through them anyway. Now this is an 8 mana Elder Dinosaur. Of course, as the other Elder Dinosaurs, this is a legendary creature. This one, however, is a 4/8 with Flying, Double Strike, Vigilance, Trample, and Indestructible. 8 mana, 2 white, and 6 for a 4/8 with a lot of keywords. Could this get standard play? Normally, I would just absolutely say no, but with decks like God Pharaoh's Gift in the format, we may actually see a copy or two of this in God Pharaoh's Gift. Now, adding haste to this would be very nice, and seeing it on turn 4 would be devastating. So, maybe this could be an answer or something for God Pharaoh's Gift to run, but I just don't really see it being a replacement for the Angel. Maybe copies 5 and 6 or so of the Angel, but I just don't really see it replacing the Angel. And since the God Pharaoh's Gift itself will rotate out as the Angel rotates out, I don't see this being a viable replacement for after that. However, time will tell. So that is Tulpa Primal Dawn, our white Elder Dinosaur. Next, we're going to move into another dinosaur here, a 5 mana Trapjaw Tyrant. Now, 2 white and 3 colorless will get you a 5/5 with Enrage. Whenever Trapjaw is dealt damage, exile target creature an opponent controls until Trapjaw Tyrant leaves the battlefield. Now, you guys are going to have to let me know in the comments if there's some type of wording in this that might allow us to do something crazy with some triggers or something like that. But for now, it just kind of looks like a very vulnerable way to give them enter the battlefield triggers. And now, if you are maybe in some type of aggressive deck, then maybe yeah, this might be exactly what you're looking for, to be able to just continuously push in there. But for the most part, I'm a little bit worried with the idea of this one, as if you are removing some of their deadly creatures, you might actually be giving them some cantrips or something like that when they finally are able to remove your Trapjaw Tyrant. So will it get standard play? I don't know. Time will tell. But I'm gonna say probably, if we rate, standard play from a 1 to a 5, we're gonna say maybe a 3 for just really just unsure. Maybe, could, maybe not. Just depends on how the dinosaur deck goes. All right. So next we're gonna have Temple Altasaur, Temple Altasaur, Altiasaur, Temple Altiasaur, a 5 mana 3/4 dinosaur. If a source would deal damage to another dinosaur you control, prevent all but one of that damage. So 1 white and 4 colorless will get this 3/4 body for you, with a little bit of protection for your other dinosaurs. It doesn't do anything to really protect itself other than just having that 4 body. Will this see play as a rare? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe if you had some really jank way to enrage all of your creatures, this might be viable there. Not really sure. For the most part, I'm going to say on the 2 scale, if only if it finds a home in a specific type of deck would I see it actually getting any play. So next here we have Suncrest Terradon. Suncrested Terradon is another 5 mana, so 4 mana, 4 colorless, and a white will get you a 2/5 flyer. And Suncrested Terradon has vigilance as long as you control another dinosaur. 2/5 flyer, maybe some draft play or something like that, but definitely going to hit a 1 on the standard playability. I don't see it getting any standard playability. So next here we have Sun Sentinel. A 2 mana 2/2, 1 white and 1 colorless, will get you a 2 mana 2/2 with vigilance. Creature types being human, soldier. If a humans deck does rise up, there's been a little bit of talk about some people wanting to do some white weenie or something like that, using a lot of the other really cheap white creatures in the format. If those all turn into being humans, then maybe a 2/2 with vigilance could see a little bit of play. So I'm definitely going to say, maybe a 2 here for niche, but for the most part, this is probably going to be a draft card. 2 mana 2/2s, not bad. Keep calm, draft 2/2s, draft bears. Next here we have Squires Devotion. It's a 3 mana enchantment, so 1 white and 2 colorless will get you a enchantment that enchants creature, enchantment aura. Enchant creature gets +1/+1 and has lifelink. When Squires Devotion enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 white vampire creature token with lifelink. Now, this is actually really interesting, as a lot of people were playing some of the cartouches, and the black cartouche was getting played because it was giving lifelink, and the white cartouche was getting played because it was giving a token. So here, for the price of the black cartouche, you get the lifelink and you get a token. This may actually see a little bit of play in some niche decks if needing to gain life could be a thing. So if someone would play the black cartouche solely for the reason of giving their creature lifelink, I can see this getting play if they're in white. So I'm going to say, we'll say a 3, because I actually think this will see some type of tier 2 play or something like that. So next here we have Sphinx's Decree. Sphinx's Decree is a 2 mana sorcery. 1 white and a colorless will get you each creature can't each opponent can't cast instant and sorcery spells during that player's next turn. So this is kind of just a tax effect. You can pay 2 mana on your turn to just guarantee that they're not going to use a non-creature removal spell. So unless they've got like an artifact, an enchantment, or a creature, that pretty much shuts them out of playing most things. So no board wipes, no sorcery speed removal for sure. It just another way to, put some taxes on the opponent. It is Azure saying be still, just saying, hey, hold up. Just don't want you to do anything next turn. Maybe this will get some sideboard play. This may be a good answer for a mono white deck to have an answer against, some control decks or something like that, so they can guarantee they're going to crash through until that next turn. So that's pretty cool. I kind of like that this is in standard. I'm going to say maybe a 3 here, sideboard play, and that's probably going to be what we see that as, is a little bit of sideboard play. Next we have Snubhorn Sentry as a 1 mana 0/3. 1 white mana will get you a 0/3 with Ascend. Now, our first dinosaur with Ascend here, Snubhorn Sentry gets +3/+0 as long as you have the City's Blessing. And as you know, with the City's Blessing, as soon as you get to your 10th permanent on the battlefield at one time, if you have any permanent on the battlefield that has Ascend, or if you can put Ascend on the stack by casting a spell that has Ascend on it, you will instantly get the City's Blessing and have that for the rest of the game. So after you get City's Blessing, this is a 1 mana 3/3 with no real drawback. The only real drawback is it doesn't have the 3 power, so you're not going to be doing some early swinging with this. But I kind of like the implications of Snubhorn Sentry. I guess it's really going to matter about just how quick we can see these Ascend decks turn online. And if they are online after, turn 3 or 4, if you can get online by turn, 3 or 4 somehow, maybe even as late as 5, then this may actually be one of those cards to help you do that, as it's a 1 mana permanent that you can put down that you're not going to feel bad about drawing later. So, I kind of like this, and I'm going to go with a 4. I actually think this will get some play. It just really depends on if there is an aggro ascend deck or not. If there is, and it's got white, 100%, I think this card will be in it. Next, we've got Slaughter the Strong. 3 mana, so double white and a colorless, sorcery speed. Each player chooses any number of creatures he or she controls with total power 4 or less, then sacrifices all other creatures he or she controls. Now, you may have 4 1/1s, you can keep those. You may have, a 3 power dude and a 1 power dude, and you want to keep those. This could be an interesting card, and I can actually see some of these afflict cards, or maybe even see this in something like Mardu vehicles, as your creature wouldn't have the toughness early, with like a Toolcraft Exemplar or something like that. So I'm going to actually give this a 4. I see this getting some play in certain decks, and I really think that if it was placed in the proper deck, that you could get a lot of value out of it. You could actually wipe the board with a Toolcraft Exemplar, a Pia, and a Thopter with a Heart of Kieran on the battlefield. You could crew after you do this. So I mean, you could keep a lot of things on your battlefield, whereas they can keep a singleton Bristling Hydra if it hasn't been pumped. If it's been pumped at all, it's gone. So Glorybringer, they can keep Glorybringer. That's probably going to be one of your worst case scenarios. Is okay, well, you got to get rid of everything else, but you keep Glorybringer. Might be bad for you, might not. Depends on what else they have to get rid of. But I do think that, this card is going to get some play. So, Slaughter the Strong, I like it. If there's a deck that can easily cast double white, it's going to see some play. Next here, we have a 1 mana 2/1. I don't even have to read anything else and can tell you if there's a white weenie deck, this is getting play. So this is an Ascend card as well, and if you have that City's Blessing, your 1 mana 2/1 gets flying. Okay, 1 mana, put a body on the field. That's 1 more permanent for the city, to reach the City's Blessing. As soon as we do reach the City's Blessing, we're starting to get some value out of this. If you even start with this as your 1 mana spell, maybe follow it up with, who knows, even 2 of the other 1-drops that are in white on turn 2, there may be a really good little white aggro deck shaping up here. And is it going to be in vampires? I don't know. We'll see. Next, we've got Sanguine Glorifier. Sanguine Glorifier, a 4 mana vampire cleric. So 1 white and 3 colorless will get you a 3/3 vampire cleric with, whenever or when Sanguine Glorifier enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on another target vampire you control. So no option here at putting it on itself. I would say the card would have been a little bit better if it was able to at least put the counter on itself, giving that 4 powered body. Making it a 4/4 for 4 would not be too overwhelming, I don't think. So I think this one's going to be a little underpowered. Don't really think that this will get any kind of major play unless vampires are needing the 1/1 counters for some reason. So I'm going to throw this down into a 1. I just don't think it'll get any play, but is more than likely going to be a bomb in your draft decks. If you can, if you're building that vampire deck, you're probably going to really love this 4 mana 3/3 body that can buff up your other vampires. So maybe this will get a little bit of love in draft, but I just don't see it in standard. Next, we have another dinosaur, 2 mana Raptor Companion. Raptor Companion. That's funny. This looks like a card that was already printed. Maybe there's something wrong with that, but it's a 2 mana 3/1 Raptor Companion. That's it, 2 mana 3/1. That alone passes most vanilla checks. And you know, 2 mana 2/2 is, you know, the vanilla check for a, you know, a bear. And this being a 3/1 and being a dinosaur, meaning that if you're in white and you play that turn 1 Conjali Collar, you could possibly play 2 of these on turn 2, or this and a 2 mana, you know, other 2 mana dinosaur. Either way, Raptor Companion, 2 mana, 3/1, not bad. I kind of like it. Probably we'll give it a 2. Just depends on if it fits that slot in dinosaurs or not. Just don't really know if dinosaurs is going to be in white, especially the aggro version. If there is an aggro version, and we could definitely bump that up to a 3, as you know, it being a niche card. Next here we have Radiant Destiny. This is a 3 mana enchantment, so 1 white and 2 colorless gets you another enchantment with Ascend on it. So a permanent on the battlefield for Ascend right there off the bat. You know, we got some pluses for it. As Radiant Destiny enters the battlefield, you choose a creature type. Creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+1, period. That's important. New sentence. As long as you have the city's blessing, they also have vigilance. All right, so this is kind of always watching, and that's pretty much what everyone's going to compare it to. But one of the things I've always had problems with putting always watching in one of my, you know, multicolored decks was the 2 mana, 2 double white on turn 3. If you're trying to hit this on curve, and any good deck, take for example, if you go back and look at, you know, our first modern deck, we had it in there for the Warriors. We were able to put, you know, maybe 3 Warriors down by turn 3, but we were not able to actually, you know, smoothly get down the always watching on turn 3 because of mana restrictions. And I think that if always watching was good, or even gets any modern play, I think this could actually take the place of that if it was being played in a tribal deck. I'm actually really excited for this card for my Warriors deck, and I think that we can get to the Ascend pretty easily in decks like that. So for the most part, I think that if Always Watching was a good card, then this is going to be a good card. Now, the fact that we are moving into a tribal block, and tribal is going to be a thing that we're going to deal with for quite some time, and this giving us a tribal anthem that we can kind of just call the color on, like call the name on. It might be a little bit hard to cast it in some of the colors, but for the most part, I'm going to give this as a 5. This will see standard play, and this just flat out period. This will see standard play. It could possibly see modern play. I only say that in any niche deck, any deck that would play Always Watching that might have some type of tribal synergy would probably rather play Radiant Destiny. Maybe, maybe not. Again, time will tell. For standard playability, though, 5 out of 5, this will see standard play, in my opinion. Next here, we have Pride of Conquerors, a 2 mana instant speed with Ascend. Creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. If you have the City's Blessing, those creatures get +2/+2 until end of turn instead. So it is a replacement effect on there with the City's Blessing, and City's Blessing is worded so that it will check for City's Blessing before it tries to apply the +1/+1 or the +2/+2 until end of turn for your creatures. Now this is just a 2 mana pump spell anthem, single shot anthem. Some of you older players might have a word for what you call these single shot coat of arms or whatever, but I just call them, it's like Sheffet Dunes. It's just a one-time um, area of effect buff, if you will. I think it's well placed. I think it could be a really, really good combat trick in a deck that could go wide. So if we start to see a little bit more out of the tokens deck, we might actually see some copies of this. If it can go wide, then just pumping its guys into +2/+2, you just turned a bunch of 1/1s into 3/3s, and you could probably just close the game out very easily. if nothing else, trade with a lot of your opponent's creatures. I can see some playability for this. I'm going to say 3. Just depends on if there is a go wide strategy that can, you know, create a board state and then get in for that, you know, damage. We'll see. I'm going to say a 3, possibly a 4, but for now, I'm just going to say a 3 on standard playability. I think the card's well priced, and it's a really good effect for the price. So, yeah, definitely don't think it's a bad card at all. Just depends on if there's going to be a deck that can use it. Next here we have Paladin of Atonement. This is a 2-mana 1/1. Ooh, failed vanilla check. What? Hold up. 1 white, 1 colorless, only gets a 1/1? This Vampire Knight better have some cool abilities. Alright, at the beginning of each upkeep, so my upkeep, your upkeep, you know, in Commander, everyone's upkeep. If you lost life last turn, put a 1/1 counter on Paladin of Atonement. Oh, alright, now we're starting to sound a little bit better here. So if I lose life on my turn, I pass to your turn, and you can't remove him immediately, he's instantly a bear. How do we lose life on our turn? Let's read the rest of it. When Paladin of Atonement dies, you gain life equal to its toughness. So as I'm losing life, I can eventually gain it back if you don't exile him. Okay, our little 2-mana 1/1 is starting to sound a lot better, especially when I think of cards like Shefet Dunes, which is a desert that I can easily just create 1 mana, 1 white mana, even if I don't really need it, to ping myself for 1. Most people would pay 1 life to put a +1/1 counter on a good creature. Just depends on if we can do something else with this creature. I personally like the fact that I might be able to ping myself on my turn as I get more deserts. Also ping myself on your turn so he buffs again, getting 2 counters per turn. Looks like this might actually be something in the later game. Is that a theme that we're starting to see? A little bit weaker creatures in the beginning, which turn into some later game powerhouses so that, you know, decisions have to be made but have late term consequences? Maybe? Alright, next here we have Moment of Triumph. Another 1 mana spell. Instant speed. Okay, hold on. Let's look at this closely. Oh, looks like it's just a buff. Target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. You gain 2 life. Hold on, that's kind of a lot going on for just 1 mana at instant speed. It's not a giant growth, kind of a mutagenic growth, but you don't get to pay 2 life. You get to gain 2 life. So you have to pay the mana. So it's not quite there on that scale, and we're not quite up on giant growth scale, but we are only 1 mana for a 2/2 buff and a gain of 2 life. This could be an interesting play, and if you do have some creatures that you can trade with, especially if those are, say, lifelink vampires, man, this card's starting to sound a lot better and a lot more and more playable, at least. I'm going to give it a 2. It could see some play if there happens to be some type of little, you know, sly or the mono white deck that I've apparently built as we're going through this. Everything seems like it would fit into it. Maybe we'll see some play there. So I'm going to give it a 2 just because some people don't like combat tricks, but if the combat trick does pay off, I think it's going to be really good. And as of right now, it might be a great card for draft. Next here we have Martyr of the Dusk, Martyr of Dusk, a 2 mana 2/1, barely passing the vanilla check there, but this vampire soldier has an enter the battlefield or an effect. When Martyr of Dusk dies, create a 1/1 white vampire creature token with lifelink. So it's not an enter the battlefield, not a leaves the battlefield, but when it dies. So a card that you can happily turn sideways. This is, for better or worse, an overpowered, worse Doom Traveler. Ooh, yeah, I kind of don't like it now. But Doom Traveler was really good. Hmm. A 2/1 that can replace itself. Maybe. Depends on if we can get some anthems. Although there's some really good 2 mana white vampires at this point. I just really don't think that this makes the cut. If anything, and it does make the cut, I don't see it making the cut as a 4 of. However, it could be the exact 2/1 you need to just continue to crash in with. Maybe, again, time will tell. But for now, I'm going to put this down as a 2. Only if the 2 mana slot doesn't have something better in it will this see play, in my opinion. I could be wrong. Next, we're going to have, oh, this card. Okay, so I tried and tried to pronounce this. This is the best I could come up with, and I don't even know if I can repeat it now. Majestic Heliotheros. Heliotheros. That's it. The Majestic Dinosaur here costs you 4 mana. 1 white and 3 colorless for a 2/2. Gives you a flying. When Majestic Heliotheros attacks, another target dinosaur you control gains flying until end of turn. Now this kind of seems like another dinosaur we had. Could this be right? Because it really seems like another dinosaur we had. We'll have to. I'll actually have to look into that, but I want to say there's a Terradon or pterodactyl or something like that that has almost the same effect. I could be wrong. It might be like a human shaman or something. It might not be a dinosaur that has the effect, but it just really seems like this another dinosaur gains flying until end of turn, or maybe it's just another attacking creature gains flying. So maybe this is a repeat effect that we're seeing on some things. I don't know, but either way, 4 mana for a 2/2 flyer that gives something else flying. I don't really think this is going to make the cut. I'm going to give it a 1. I just don't think it's going to see some standard play. However, it might be great in if you can draft together a dinosaur deck for your draft. Next here we have Luminous Bonds, a 3 mana enchantment aura. Enchanted creature can't attack or block. So activated abilities are still, activatable. This is only a, well, just Luminous Bonds is not going to lock down the Scarab God or Hazard it. It's just going to save you from them swinging, but their abilities are still going to be able to go off. So I don't really know if this is better than anything we have in play right now. I definitely don't think this is, as good as something like Pacifism. So I would much rather just have Pacifism here. But I'm going to give that a 1 as play. This is Legion Conquistador. Now, this card is listed on MTG Salvation spoiler list, and the card has the new set emblem on it, but something looks a little strange here, and I don't know exactly what it is, but I know for a fact that this card was printed in Ixalan, as it's one of the white vampires that we have. And unless it was reprinted for some type of draft value or something like that, I just can't see why it would be printed in back-to-back sets. So I think that there's definitely like an error here. You guys let me know if this card's not actually in the set. I'd be interested in knowing that. But the spoiler website I use, MTG Salvation, they have this listed as one of the cards, and so I'm bringing it to you anyway. When Legion Conquistador enters the battlefield, you may search your library for any number of cards named Legion Conquistador, reveal them, and put them into your hand, then shuffle your library. It's a 2 mana 3/3, so it's overpriced on the vanilla check. However, it's got the Squadron Hawk ability to just go grab the rest of the copies in your library. And if this is some type of draft thing, so that you do have the chance of seeing this in all 3 packs, then maybe that would be why they would do it. Because drafting 3 or 4 of these can turn into quite a good deck. And in draft, you're allowed to play as many as you can draft. So that's pretty cool. All right, next here we have a 5 mana Imperial Seratops. Now, the Imperial Seratops here is a 5 mana 3/5 with Enrage. When Imperial Ceratops is dealt damage, you gain 2 life. Not bad. I like the effect. I don't know if we're going to be pinging it a lot. I do like the 5 power, or sorry, the 5 toughness. The 3 power is not really much for 5 converted mana, like 5 casting cost. I just don't know if that's where we want to be on 5, and I think that this card's just going to get overpowered by some much more powerful 5 mana cards. And if this is what you're really wanting to cast on turn 5, then you might want to look at some other strategies, because there are just some much more powerful cards to be cast. However, in draft, this might be absolutely devastating. Just depends on how the draft format turns out. I'm not a really big draft player, but I do like to play some draft from time to time, couple every set. So I'll be looking for, what are going to be some of the draft bombs, and as we find out that information, maybe we'll put that into a separate video. For now, though, we're going to move on into Forerunner of the Legion, a 3 mana 2/2. Fails the vanilla check, but this Vampire Knight has some really cool abilities, as do all of the Forerunners. There's one of these for each of the colors, and each of the colors will give you the ability to go search up a different thing. And now this one is the Forerunner of Legion. So when it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a vampire card, reveal it, and shuffle your library and put that card on top of it. When another vampire enters the battlefield under your control, target creature gets +1 until end of turn. Now that can be this creature, any creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn when a vampire enters the battlefield under your control. That is pretty cool. The tutor effect, allowing us to, 3 mana, go grab whatever vampire we want, and then the interesting part about it is it doesn't put it into your hand. It puts that card on top of the library, so that is, you are going to set up that next draw. So if you don't have your 4th land yet, I don't recommend going and getting a 4-drop to follow up your Forerunner of the Legion, because you're still not going to be playing that on curve. So just something to think about. You're not putting it into your hand. However, I do think that these cards are going to be pretty good. At least some of them, and I kind of like the white one, and the black one's got a really good effect too. Next here we have Famished Paladin. Now this is a 2 mana 3/3. We definitely passed the vanilla check, so there must be a catch. Let's take a look. Now this 2 mana 3/3 Vampire Knight, Famished Paladin doesn't untap during your untap step. Whenever you gain life, untap Famished Paladin. So we just need to gain life to untap it. So we play it on 2, we swing with it on 3. We don't actually need to gain life until just before combat on 4. So there's a ton of time there by the time that you actually play this till the time that you need to untap it to gain life. And if you're playing it in defensive mode, then that doesn't really matter anyway. So I think that in a white deck, especially with all the life gain vampires and things like that, and this is going to get some play. So I'm going to go up there on a 4 and say that this definitely gets some play. It just depends on if the vampires deck has a lot of lifelink in it, or do they play the cards that aren't so heavy on the lifelink. Next we have Exultant Skymarcher. Double white and a colorless, so 3 mana will get you a flying 2/3. Okay, got a keyword ability. It's a vampire soldier, 2/3, double white, a colorless. I can see why this is a common. Maybe it's got good flavor text. We have come out at last to the holiest of holy places. What was stolen from us long ago is ours once again. Nah, not even the flavor text is good. It's a common. If you're playing a white deck, draft it. It's probably going to be pretty good to have a 2/3 flyer. you know, other than that, I don't think this is going to get any standard play. Next here we have Everdon Champion. Another double white and colorless, but this one's only a 2/2, so it better have some type of decent effect. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to Everdon Champion. What? A 3-mana infinite blocker? So unless they can burn it or kill it outside of combat, this can block indefinitely, or can swing without fear of damage, can block double or death strike creatures without dying, prevent all damage, meaning that even trample with death touch, they have to stack it like the none tramples over. I'd actually have to get a ruling on that Death Touch Trample, but that may be a thing due to some of the new cards, the Pirate Poisoner, but we'll cover that in the black cards. I think this card might get a little bit of play, actually. It's a human soldier, so that bothers me a little bit. Again, if there is a white weenie humans deck, this will probably get some play there. I can see it maybe getting some play in a you know, a Mardu Hate Bears or Hate deck, something like that, as it does put up a pretty good wall. Just being able to block indefinitely, especially when they need to put removal spells on other creatures that you may have that are a little bit more taxing. It kind of really frees this guy up. So depending on if something develops around that or not, then yeah, this might get a little bit of play. But for the most part, I'm going to give it a 3. Just I'm going to throw it in that niche category. If the deck arises for it, then yeah, this is definitely probably a strong enough card to be able to use something like that. But for the most part, it's not a very aggressive card, I don't think. However, it could be very aggressive. I just don't really see it as being aggressive. So it just really depends on, you know, if the deck rises. So I'm going to say, you know, a 3, maybe even a 2. But I like the card. I like the idea that it can just block and not take damage. Next, we have Divine Verdict. Now, this is a 4-mana instant speed spell. Destroy target attacking or blocking creature. Now, we've seen that effect a lot in the past, but a lot of times it has a lot of restrictions on it. It's normally always instant because, you know, the attacking or blocking. So it's always an instant there. So there's nothing new on that, but I definitely think that we've seen this effect in the past for, you know, much cheaper. So paying 4 for it now just doesn't really seem that great. Now, this is probably going to be some great removal if you're in white and you're drafting. You know, in the draft format, then this might actually be really good. And seeing it at the common spot means that you're going to be able to draft this, you know, fairly often. So you can kind of count on having a little bit of removal in white with this being down on the commons. But for the most part, I don't see it getting any standard play. I think farm is just better, even if you're not casting the back half. Farm would just be better. Next, we have, I think, we'd have to look that up. Next, we have Cleansing Ray. This is a 2-mana sorcery with options. Alright, so 1 white and a colorless will buy you one of 2 options. You may destroy target vampire or destroy target enchantment. Well, that's pretty cool. If the vampire deck becomes powerful enough, I can see having this in your sideboard for enchantments, but you better hope you don't have green, because Naturalize is back, and we all know that's the daddy of artifact enchantment kill. So if the deck had green at all, then this is definitely not going to get any play. I'm going to put it down as a 2 because I think it's only going to be situational even in sideboards. So I like the idea that there is a destroy target vampire that's white, and there's a, you know, destroy target enchantment, and the modes does make it a little bit more playable, but I just think there's better options in the format. So we're going to give it a 1, as it's just not going to see standard play, I don't think. Next, we have Blazing Hope. Blazing Hope is a 1-mana instant speed, exile target creature with power greater than or equal to your life total. Now let's ponder this for a minute. Greater than or equal to your life total. Now it's Exile. Instant speed, 1 white mana, Blazing Hope, uncommon, Path to Exile, good-ish, I think. In Modern, it seems like it might be like just great uh, against certain decks. Against other decks, it may come online just, you know, one moment too late. That is my fear with this card, that the card is one of those decks, cards that just come online a little bit too late. But anyone who's played Control knows that it is very, very possible to stabilize at 1 life. So if there is a situation where decks are fast and you're needing to be able to you know settle the wreckage plus leave up something, and you've already taken a beating, maybe Blazing Hope will get some play. I think the card is extremely powerful, but and we'll probably get some Modern play at some point. So I don't know where to rate this card, because I think that the meta is going to have to kind of rate this card on whether it's good or bad. So I'm going to give it a 4, as I think it's going to come and go based on how the meta shifts. More red deck, you're going to be able to get in there quicker. You're going to be doing more damage to them. They're going to turn these things online by turn 3 or 4. You probably turn 4, they've got this thing online. By the time your Hazard's actually really getting in, they're exiling Hazard. Yeah, this could actually get some play. I can see that. But again, is it too late? Is it just too late by the time this is online? I don't know. Time will tell. I'm going to give it a 4, as the card is extremely powerful. Can definitely dig you out of, a clutch situation. It is definitely a come from behind card. Most of the time we talk about cards being a win more. No, this is if this card is good, you are losing. That means they have a creature that can present lethal to you before this card is even castable. Man, talk about top decking. This putting hope in the card is definitely adequate. So I like the card. We'll see if we'll see where it gets play. It will get some kind of play somewhere, but it is a dangerous card. I definitely like how it's built, and we'll see if there's a deck that can maybe control their life total or something like that. But it also may be some type of answer to certain types of cards. It's not hard to have less life than some of these creatures that are like 12/12s. They're throwing down 12/12 dinosaurs. You've got 11 life. You're still at a healthy life total, but that's a big body. Yeah, this comes online. So in those decks, yeah, maybe definitely a little bit more interesting. However, once they know you have this as a piece of your removal, it might be more advantageous for them to build up for just a massive alpha strike. So that by the time your life total drops at all, your life total is just too far down. Now, does that give you time to build? Again, we're going to have to see where this fits in. I like the card. I definitely think that the card, deserved a little bit more conversation than we're going to give it today. So I'm going to put this at the 4. I want to watch it in the future. I also think that, if this is a 25-cent uncommon at the beginning, you guys might want to scoop them up, as, I definitely think that if the card finds play anywhere, it will be good wherever it gets play. Next, we have Bishop of Binding. This is a 4 mana, so 3 and 1 white will give you a 1/1 Vampire Cleric. Man, this thing better have some cool abilities for a 1/1 for 4. When Bishop of Binding enters the battlefield, exile target creature an opponent controls until Bishop of Binding leaves the battlefield. Whenever Bishop of Binding attacks, target vampire gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the power of that exiled card. Okay, so you exile Rogue Refiner, and now when it attacks, target vampire gets +3/+3. Don't care about Rogue Refiner's toughness, just its power becomes the X. So Bam, +3/+3. So you just swing with this and you got a 4/4. Hmm. Maybe this is a really good card. I wish it could protect itself a little bit more when it wasn't attacking. It's setting around as a 1/1 seems really vulnerable to a lot of spells, especially when we've got, you know, these new enraged dinosaurs and people wanting ways to just deal 1 damage to all things. I don't really like 1 toughness creatures right now, so I'm going to put this down as a 2, maybe a 3 in the right deck, and it just depends on if people don't have easy ways to just deal 1 damage, walking ballista, things like that. Man, it just seems really risky to pay 4 mana for a 1/1 that may just give them an extra enter the battlefield trigger. So you know, if you've played Hostage Taker, you know how vulnerable that is to pay 4 mana to help them have their, say, their Rogue Refiner again, leave the battlefield. They simply just fatal push it, and then, you know, it's dead, and now they get a Rogue Refiner trigger, gaining more energy or whatever, or not even if they fatal push it. In this case, they can be shocked, it can be magma sprayed, it can be harness lightning. They get to keep additional energy, so a ton of things can be done to remove this. So I don't know if this is more of a liability or a good card. I like the effect. I think the effect is really cool. I think the card itself is a liability to play, but interesting nonetheless. And if you happen to get something monstrous behind it, say that 12/12 Galta that they cheated out on their turn 4, passed back to you, and you were like, sure, that could be pretty powerful. So yeah, maybe there's some implications for this. Next here we have, or last actually, we have Baffling In, a 2 mana enchantment. So 1 white and a colorless will get you an enchantment that has, whenever Baffling In enters the battlefield, exile target creature an opponent controls with converted mana cost 3 or less. That's kind of like Silk Wrap, guys. All right, now this sounds good. Okay. When Baffling In leaves the battlefield, target opponent creates a 3/3 green dinosaur creature token with trample. Okay, so in many cases, it's not going to leave the battlefield anyway, no matter what. They get back a token, not their actual creature. Tokens don't have enter the battlefield triggers. As long as you're not playing this in something that's scared of trample, man, this seems good. I think this could be, you know, Silk Wrap, if not better. Just the ability to not give them back that creature, even if they get rid of the Baffling In, the best thing that they could possibly get back is a 3/3. There's a lot of powerful 3 mana creatures out there. And I even know in an Abzan deck that I've been playing around with, I really need to be able to get rid of Rampaging Ferocidon, and to do that for 2 mana sounds really good for me. That they rampage on 3, pass to me, I'm playing, you know, say a creature and this on turn 4, or if it's my turn 3, this and maybe, you know, a fatal push in my Abzan deck. So I kind of like where this is going. I think that this might actually get some play. I'm going to throw this up there as a 3, maybe a 4 of. I think that this is, or not a 4 of, but a score of a 3, possibly 4. Like really, really borderline of just saying, yes, this is going to get play. But for the most part, we're gonna just stick with that 3 rating. I really like this spell, and I like the implications of it. And if Silk Wrap was good, then why wouldn't this be good? So that is all of our cards for the white cards in the Rivals of Ixalan set. I hope you guys like the set review, and you know, I'm going to do the rest of them in the same format. I hope you guys are okay with the format. But for the most part, this is how we're going to be doing our set reviews from this point forward. Make sure you're got that notification and, you know, subscription button hit, and give us a thumbs up if you like these, and we'll see you for the next one.